So let me tell you about a client of mine. Moved here 3 years ago from the Midwest. I helped him find a gorgeous 55 and over community, brand new construction. We really found everything that checked every box on his list. 3 years later, we're already out looking to find him a brand new home. And why is that? Because honestly, a 55 and over community isn't necessarily for everyone. And here in Las Vegas, you'll actually be surprised it happens more often than you think. So hi, I'm Jennifer Graff with the New Home Experts at Douglas Elliman, and this is your Vegas Confidential. So in this video, we're going to be talking about all the reasons why you might want to avoid a 55 and over community here in Las Vegas, and really the specifics of why it's really not truly a great fit for everyone. So let's jump into it with number one. Okay, number one on this list is the HOAs. So there's a lot of things going into that HOA. First of all, they can be a lot more expensive than a traditional home. You're paying for quite a bit more. Sometimes you're paying for all the activities, all the amenities of the entire property. And for some people, they don't mind. They're happy to pay that, especially, of course, if you're speaking to a guard gate. You might even find yourself, if you're buying a newer construction property or brand new construction in a 55 and over, you are also going to be paying something called an SID, which is essentially an additional fee that can be on top of your HOAs. So for a lot of people off the bat, if that HOA can be a consideration because it is expensive. Also with that HOA means a lot of restriction. Restrictions are great if you're concerned about your neighbors and what they're doing, but if it is something that is a concern as far as that cost and you really don't want all those restrictions for yourself, then honestly 55 and over communities here in Las Vegas might not be a good fit for you. Okay, number two is you really need to be ready to downsize. Even in some of the newer construction communities for 55 and over, some of them are a little bit larger than older communities. You're still going to be limited on space. Sometimes you're at least anywhere from 1,300 to they might even just top out at about 2,500 square feet. If you're looking for a large home, maybe 3,000 square foot plus on a large lot, it's going to be very hard to find that in a 55 and over community. Most of these communities, not only the house is smaller, but the entire community is a lot more packed in. So you're going to be a lot closer to your neighbors than you might not be used to. Of course, you're going to have that smaller house. You're going to have more than likely a smaller lot than you've had maybe in previous years at previous homes. And in some cases, you might not even have a fenced in backyard. So again, it's going to feel a lot less private. You're going to feel it definitely in the size of the home and overall that space between your houses and the lot size. So if that's not something that's comfortable for you, if you don't like the feeling of being a little bit more tightly packed in with your neighbors, maybe not having the privacy of a completely fenced in yard, then for number two, again, Las Vegas, as far as 55 and over, might not be a good fit for you. Okay, number three, when you are living in a 55 and over community, well, most of your neighbors are going to be 55 and plus. So a lot of people kind of prefer having a little bit more age diversity in where they're living. And of course, if you're selecting 55 and over, you kind of have to remember that there's going to be a very specific marketplace as far as who's going to be your neighbors, who's going to be living in the community. Some people obviously love that. And that's a big reason why that they're moving into one of these communities. But a lot of people don't necessarily like that feeling of everyone being in a particular age bracket. And on top of that, remember, if everyone is 55 and over, well, a lot of them are going to be retired, right? I mean, there might be a few people that are still working, but a lot of people moving into 55 and over are retired. What does that mean? Well, then your neighbors are kind of home all day. So if you're used to having a neighborhood that feels a little bit more quiet and private during the day, when people might be at work and then coming home later, just remember at all times of the day, your neighbors are going to be home. If that's not something that you like, if you like that kind of the idea of a little bit of movement through the neighborhood, as far as kind of going through the day, then 55 and over, again, might not be a great fit for you because this is a very specific segment of the marketplace and they are all kind of doing the same thing. Okay, number four, and this is a big one. And I think a lot of people decide after their whole life, you're a little bit older, you're in your maybe 50s or 60s, and all of a sudden you feel like you're going to make a massive change to who you are. Let me tell you, it just doesn't happen. So the reality is, if you were not social in high school, if you were not really social through your career and, going to parties and events really wasn't your thing, well, I'm telling you, more than likely, it's probably still not going to be your thing. So this is a big reality, because when you're buying in 55 and over, a lot of what you're paying for is that social tax. So you're literally paying for a lot of the social activities, all of the amenities that are available to you, that calendar of events that happens every week, every month. That's truly part of the money that you're spending every month, is to participate. If you are not like that, if you are not somebody that likes to go to all the parties, if you're not somebody that enjoys going to a cocktail hour or playing bocce ball on the weekends with your neighbors, or maybe you're just not really that into pickleball, I mean, honestly, it happens, then you really have to essentially know thyself. If this wasn't something that you'd be interested throughout your life, honestly, at this point in your life, you're probably not going to change. So I would suggest kind of take a really close look at what you really want to be doing every day, and if it's something that you think you're going to enjoy. Because if it's not, then you're really paying for something that you're not going to be using. And then honestly, that money is better spent elsewhere. And then those 55 and over communities might not be a good for you. Okay, number 5, and this really actually kind of ties into number 1 when we were talking about those strict HOAs. If you are somebody that you think that your grandchildren are going to come spend the summer with you, or maybe like extended holiday breaks, children under 18 in a lot of these 55 and over communities can have some pretty strong restrictions. There's even at times restrictions when your grandkids can use the pool, when they can go to the clubhouse, maybe if they can or can't participate in activities. If you are somebody that really enjoys that family time and really want to have your grandkids around for long stretches of time, or you have guests at the property for long periods of time, you're really going to want to check into those specifics of the CC&Rs and that HOA, because a lot of times when you're buying in these 55 and over communities, they can truly restrict your family and visitors. And again, if that's something that's important to you and you do see yourself with the grandkids or family members coming and spending quite a long time with you, then every 55 and over community kind of runs a little bit differently, but you're definitely going to want to make sure that that restriction is not going to feel like a reason why you not want to buy in a 55 and over. Okay, here in Las Vegas, this is number 6, because this is also an important one, especially since Vegas is such a big melting pot, and you can really choose between older 55 and over communities like a Sun City Summerlin, of course, Sun City Anthem, or a Sienna, which is up here in the Summerlin side of town. All of them are going to have a very specific vibe. Obviously, as well, when you're speaking to some of these places, they're also going to have a very specific type of construction. A lot of people like the older construction. They love a Sun City Summerlin. There's a beautiful golf course. There's a lot more greenery. You have mature trees, depending on which side of town you want to be on. You can also be looking at 55 and over in newer communities as well. When we speak to Trilogy in Summerlin, which, believe it or not, most people don't know this, but it's actually all attached condo product out there, and there is no golf course. The location, well, kind of killer. If you find yourself that you're going to be maybe going down to the Strip or downtown Summerlin, Trilogy Summerlin does offer a great location. But not only are we speaking to the actual home that you're going to buy, we really need to drill down on what the vibe is of that particular community. So when I talk to anybody that's interested specifically in 55 and over, I really suggest not only are we going to go look at homes, but you really want to spend the day there, maybe have lunch, really get an understanding to what that vibe feels like, because it's such an important part of your 55 and over experience. Not just that house, but the overall community experience, because that's really truly going to play into whether or not that particular 55 and over community is going to feel right for you. Okay, we talked a lot about reasons why you don't want to live in a 55 and over community, which are very real. There's the strict and expensive HOAs. There is the space issue. If you're downsizing, if your lot is downsizing, you're losing some of your privacy. You're losing the fact that it's obviously going to be a little bit more homogenous with people in a specific age group. You're also going to need to recognize the social tax, and is that something that you are excited about, that you're going to be willing to pay for, or maybe you're just not that social and it's just not a good fit. Also keep in mind the family restrictions restrictions. So these are all very real when you're thinking about 55 and over. But now let me tell you who that 55 and over neighborhood is actually perfect for. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about who this is actually perfect for. Now, if you are new to Las Vegas, which honestly a lot of my clients are, and you kind of want to get into the swing of things quickly, you don't want to wait maybe 2 or 3 years to meet your neighbors. You love the idea of that social aspect built in because truly you kind of get enveloped into that environment right away because there's a really easy way to meet people. You're not going to feel isolated. If you love the idea of having some great amenities close by, whether it's a clubhouse, whether it's a restaurant, whether of course you're in a 55 and over with golf available or just a lot of activities and a social calendar, well, 55 and over communities can be great for you. If you're concerned about security, there's a lot of great communities that are guard gated that are 55 and over or not. But for a lot of people, honestly, especially if you're new to our area and you kind of just want to jumpstart your social life and just kind of get into the swing of things, then honestly, that 55 and over lifestyle here in Las Vegas, as far as communities, really can't be. Okay, let's talk about alternatives, right? Because again, if 55 and over is not for you, there is so much here that might be a great fit. Today, I'm actually out in Spanish Trail. Great neighborhood if you don't necessarily want 55 and over, but you'd like, the ability to perhaps join the country club. You have that here. You can even just do a social membership. There's great opportunities here in Spanish Trail to meet your neighbors. There's also, of course, Canyon Gate. You have Anthem Country Club. You have Red Rock Country Club. So I've got a lot of buyers that don't necessarily want 55 and over. Those are great alternatives. Another one I want to mention, which is a really great alternative to 55 and over, would be high rise, especially if you want that like lock and leave lifestyle. Regency Towers is very popular with 55 and over, but you're in the middle of a master plan community. You're at Las Vegas Country Club. There's just so much out here to consider whether or not you're looking at 55 and over, whether you're looking at those alternatives. There's really something for everybody out here in Las Vegas. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video today. These are really important things that you need to consider before you're buying 55 and over communities. Of course, my client kind of made a mistake. We're in the process of fixing it, and he's actually looking at brand new construction in Summerlin right now. Making a mistake is okay, but I'm here to help you kind of avoid as many as I possibly can, whether or not you're considering 55 and over, all of these amazing alternatives to that. Now, if you'd like more information about any of the 55 and over communities or some of the other communities that we discussed in today's video, you can find all that in my Vegas Confidential blog at jennifergraffrealtor.com. Thank you everyone for taking the time to watch this video today. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.